let's go ahead and finish it off strong. I can't believe that they teetered with the Dork Order 6-man, and they bored us a bit. Not me, because I skipped it with the underneath girls match. But generally, something falls in a big hole on this program, and they didn't. They finished strong. Bryan Danielson and Bobby Fish. And no, this is not a marquee dream match that would, draw mega millions on pay-per-view, but it was an excellent television wrestling match. Bobby Fish is tremendous. He's a great talent, and it was the proper use of Bryan Danielson, because I got to be honest with you, the same thing's going to happen to Danielson as has happened to Punk. The temptation is going to be there to put Danielson on television as much as possible to try to get a rating, whether it works or not. And are they going to water his opponents down? Very possibly. But this was not. Bryan Danielson and Bobby Fish should be a competitive match because Fish is that good, and still gets the point across. We got Bryan Danielson wrestling on our television show. It's a step above, in my opinion, putting Punk against just a random underneath guy. And it didn't hurt that Fish just came over from the other program, but Bryan Danielson was over like crazy on his entrance, people yesing. And they did nice stuff. That both these guys have an MMA/wrestling hybrid style, that they're both pros. They're really crisp. This is where Punk made the great points that only a wrestler would say about coming down after matches. But, when for anybody that's performed on a wrestling show, especially a major one, you're bouncing off the walls of your hotel room 3:00 in the morning still, because you can't just turn all that off. That's why so many guys have substance issue problems. If you got to get up at 6:00 in the morning for a fucking plane and you didn't go to bed till 4, have 3 or 4 days in a row of that, we'll get on you. They were talking about the recovery period after a hard match that they had just wrestled the night before. And Punk was making that point. And he sounds legitimate and sincere about what he's saying, because that part was true. He's mastered, let me say as much true shit as possible so that people believe everything I say, because the majority of it they know on the face of it to be true. And that's, any great wrestler and any great con man will take that tactic. Again, Danielson hit a dive and got a big pop, but then he tried to throw Fish back in the ring where he could beat him. But Fish fought back and stopped Danielson for the heat to go into the break. And coming back, Fish got heat on Danielson's leg. He sold it really well. Fish was heelish. Danielson's fighting from underneath. They threw nice forearms. Bobby Fish looks more like a former UFC champion than Junior Dos Santos does in a working environment, which is a lesson that some of them ought to learn. You need to use the shooters and you need to use the mainstream celebrities, but don't put them in positions that exposes their weaknesses. Did you see that Chris Jericho said Junior Dos Santos hit a home run or some shit, that his debut, he's a natural?
I didn't see that, but I'm not at all surprised that Chris Jericho put out a delusional statement.
If they could have just kept him from trying to work his strikes. Anyway, so Danielson finally then, classic fucking babyface comeback that I have not seen anybody do in forever. Then it used to be a regular thing, and it makes perfect sense. The people want to see the babyface make a comeback and do to the heel what the heel did to the babyface. That was the first thing I learned when I got in the wrestling business from the boys. So usually, what does the babyface's comeback these days have to do with what happened to him during the heat? Absolutely nothing. But in this case, Fish got the heat on Danielson's leg, and when Danielson made the comeback, he started wrapping Fish's leg around that ring post. Fuck you, bam, here, have this. Oh, Jesus Christ. That makes perfect sense. And the people get into it more because now it's tit for tat. That used to be the concept was a basic spot in wrestling. If you were working a spot show with a guy you'd never met before, right? You didn't know anything about him. You're the heel and he's the babyface. What do? You lock up and you fucking arm drag the babyface. And you get up and you crow about it. You strut, you laugh, and you point at him. Then you lock up and you fucking hip toss him. And you do the same thing. And then you lock up and you scoop him up and body slam him. And you do the same thing. And while you're laughing about that, fucking babyface gets pissed. So when you lock up again, he arm drags the heel. Then he hip tosses the heel. Then he body slams the heel. And the heel comes up with a shit all over his face. Like, what the fuck? And the babyface drop kicks him. Out he goes to the floor. The babyface fucking gets his glory. The babyface gives the heel back taste of his own medicine. Anyway, Fish finally got back on offense and hit that, they call it the Falcon Arrow. It's kind of a superplex, but lands split-legged off the top rope, which was a heck of a bump, got a 2 count. Then they fought over trying to get a fucking knee bar and some kicks, and Danielson got the heel hook, and Fish tapped out, and it was a great match. So, and nothing unprofessional, no obvious cooperation, no burying the referee. The influx of serious talent is making segment after segment of this show better just because they're professional and they know how to work and they know what to do. And if the indie-rific core group of mullet heads that started this process would try to learn from these guys, then now we're in a situation where with AEW, it used to be the complete amateur hour. Now you might get a great segment between 2 mainstream stars and a good match, and then it might be followed by My Little Dog Pockets, and everybody laughs and gets up to scratch their balls and take a shit. But at least if they can keep from being too schizophrenic, this TV show was better top to bottom than anything the WWE has done top to bottom in months. They don't have Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns at AEW. But by the same token, WWE, unfortunately, no longer has Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Adam Cole, and yada, yada, yada. So, closing thoughts on your part.
Good episode of Dynamite. Those are my closing thoughts. Good match. I can't really say too much other than what you said. It wasn't the greatest match. It was a really good match, especially for TV, and it ended the show on a good note.